Greetings. Welcome to the 2012-13 Virtual Team Project. It's my pleasure to be addressing students located in Guangzhou, China, Vienna, Austria, and Minneapolis, Minnesota in the U.S. This year we have students from 3 continents and 15 different countries participating in the Virtual Team Project. Every student will be enrolled in a credit-bearing course for which this Virtual Team Project is a requirement. You will be graded, and you will be graded on various activities, all of which will be spelled out in materials that you will receive. Every student is being provided a unique opportunity, both from a learning standpoint and a professional standpoint. So the learning opportunity is one that puts you into a team working with individuals across 3 different continents, where this is the kind of thing you're going to be doing well into the future as business becomes more and more global. It is a professional opportunity in that you will be establishing a network of individuals across the world that you can carry with you beyond the executive program in which you're currently participating. The expectations are that all students will be fully engaged with the Virtual Team Project, that you will deal with the personal, academic, and professional constraints that you face in your daily lives. And we'll deal with those in the most effective manner possible. We're excited that you're involved. We look forward to seeing you in May of 2013. Best wishes to you as you move forward in the Virtual Team Project. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It's a beautiful day here in Minneapolis on this day of September 14th, and I want to welcome you all, the Gemba class of 2013, to a brief presentation on our Virtual Team Project. My name is Svetlana Majar, and I'm a professor here at the Carlson School of Management. I teach international management and international business. But more importantly, this is my 5th year of being closely involved with the Virtual Team Project. I have learned a great deal from the experience. I've learned a great deal about challenges on different fronts, and I would like to address those and give you some advice and some information as you move forward. I also want to make sure that you understand there's more information to come, especially when it comes to logistics of the project, the timeline for the project, the deliverables, the detailed instructions, and all of those will be given to you by our Gemba administrative staff here from Minneapolis. So I'm just going to say a few words about the project as I see it, and then think a little bit about the learning, the different types of learning experience that this project is supposed to deliver to you. First, I want to say that the project itself carries equal weight across our 3 programs, here in Minneapolis, in China, and in Vienna. However, as you well know, our Carlson School program is embedded in different educational institutions in these 3 locations. And therefore, the nature of how this particular project is embedded in your program is a little bit different in each location. For example, here in SEMBA, in Carlson School, the project is a part of the grade of our students' international business course. In Vienna, this project is really only a part of what needs to eventually turn into a master's thesis that's a requirement within that educational institution. And then for students in China, for our Chamba students, this program is part of their international residency, which of course you all know is an integral part of our program. So it carries equal weight, but it just shows up in different ways throughout the 3 programs. I would say this is definitely not an easy project. I've never heard that from any team in the past 5 years. But I do believe and have witnessed this many times that this is a very significant, very relevant, and most of all, a very useful learning experience. We get feedback from our students years after they've gone through the experience, telling us about how the project has actually shaped their view of what it means to work virtually in a cross-cultural team and what it means to work across borders. So I would say that there are three types of learning that this project entails or allows you to access. First of all, you will learn how to create a viable business plan for a foreign market entry. So that's on the content side of things. Second, you will learn how to work virtually in a very challenging time zone difference environment where, as you well know, we have at least 13 and sometimes during the year 14 hours difference between Minneapolis and Guangzhou, and then we have Vienna in the middle. So 7 to 14 hours, depending on the type of conversation and the type of members involved, is quite a challenge for meeting virtually as a whole team. And then finally, you will learn how to work in a cross-cultural team. And I will refer to what this means in a moment, because cross-cultural in our case is not just across 3 cultures, but in many cases, many more. All right, so let me take you back to the first point that I made, which is, learning through content, learning to produce a viable business plan. First of all, each of you as a team member will bring to the table, will bring to your team your functional expertise. Some of you will be experts in finance, others in marketing, yet other members might be very experienced in international assignments. And all of this, each of these perspectives, of these functional perspectives, will be very important, a very important input for the project. So the more you know about each other's expertise, about each other's professional background, about each other's functional preferences, the more the team is going to be able to utilize that knowledge to make a very successful project. I would say also that what you want to have in mind is that this will be at sort of in the middle of your second year of the program, which means you have read a great deal of management literature. You have learned various concepts and various frameworks from your various instructors. And all of these, or many of these, should find their way in your thinking as you build the project. So do not hesitate to use the literature that you've been offered throughout your time here, not just until October, which is when the project starts, but really even throughout the time that you're building your project. Let's say, for example, I'm teaching the international course in our SEMBA program starting in January. And I will provide my students with some frameworks that I believe are useful for them in the virtual team project. And so I hope that they will offer it to their teams as they create the project at that point in time. So your knowledge, acquiring the knowledge through your classes is really an ongoing process that will keep going throughout your project. And please take advantage of what you are learning in that period of time to also integrate and use as you move along. One other aspect here, content related, which is very useful, very important, is that we ask you to design a project proposal for an international or foreign market entry, which means that you're going to have to propose a project which will take you from one country to another. We have absolutely no limitations on which countries those might be. You do not necessarily have to go from China or from Vienna or Austria or from the US to any other sort of country that qualifies. All countries qualify if you can convince us that indeed this is a sound proposal. So that crossing of borders needs to be considered as a requirement for this project. Just to give you some examples of what your counterparts, our alumni, have done in the past. a couple of years ago, we had a project where the team suggested that a nonprofit Indian organization that makes an inexpensive artificial limb called Jaipur foot actually goes into China. And this was going to be their first international entry. Then we had a project where a team was taking a German electrical charging company for electric vehicles to Singapore. We also had quite a few entrepreneurial projects where a team actually came up with an idea or a product that they were then taking from one country where they sort of set up themselves as a business to another. Last year, we actually got to use one such product. One team proposed a product that's a type of a clicker that's used to collect information from meeting participants or survey participants, and then provided a way to analyze the data. So the projects have really ranged in scope. They've always been extremely creative. They've always, in some sense, challenged the students to provide their input and to integrate their input into something that they'll be proud of. As you well know, you will all be meeting eventually face-to-face in May and then presenting in front of a panel of judges here in Minneapolis. And invariably, it's really a moment of celebration of your effort and of your hard work throughout these months. So now let me say a few words now about the second piece of learning, the second major learning goal of the project, which is you working in a virtual environment. Now, as I said, this is probably going to be a very challenging aspect of this project, but certainly the type of experience that you invariably, very few of you, in other words, will say that you don't need to know how to work virtually across borders. So it's certainly a very, very useful aspect of learning on this project. What I would recommend that you do early on is assess virtual experience of working virtually of each team member, because this experience might vary tremendously, and some of you who may have had more experience might simply assume that everybody on the team is up to speed in using technology and communicating without a face-to-face advantage. So what you want to do early on is bring everyone up to speed. For those of you who know more about this kind of communication, provide your advice. We also provide some advice on our end. And of course, you're always welcome to ask and seek more advice. Another aspect of this virtual work that might be challenging to you is that it might not be as virtual in different sites. So for example, we already know that each of your teams is going to have at least two students from the SEMBA program, and in a few cases, even three. What that means is that these students will have more chances to communicate face-to-face between your meetings and maybe share more information. And what sometimes happens is that through this communication, they will assume that some information has been shared throughout the whole team, whereas in fact it wasn't. Or they may have expectations, and very often unconscious expectations, that the rest of the team knows about some communication that went on only between those members that are able to see each other. So in other words, there are more and there are less virtual aspects of team communication, given that some team members will be able to see each other on a more regular basis in their classes and in their cohort. So I want to alert you to that, because as much of an advantage that might be from time to time, it might also be a disadvantage in creating unequal expectations of other team members. And one last piece of advice that I would like to give when it comes to virtual experience, especially given the time zone differences, is that you make sure that you distribute the suffering equally. So if one of your meetings requires that your Chinese team members wake up at 7 in the morning or communicate to you at 10 p.m. Their time, make sure that that same suffering is distributed across all sites moving forward. So that you all, first of all, experience what it takes to work across such opposed time zones, and also to make sure that you're fair to your other team members. And then finally, on the cross-cultural aspect of this project and this experience, let me first make sure that you understand that some of our programs have quite diverse student population. So, for example, last year our Vienna program had students from representing 15 different countries. So if you have a Vienna student on your program, he or she is only half likely, or a little bit more half likely, to be Austrian. Our SEMBA program is also quite diverse. So, for example, last year we had 2 SEMBA students, and some assumption probably was made by the rest of the team that they were American. One of them was from India and the other student was from Korea. So your teams will be more multicultural than you might expect. And this is wonderful from the standpoint of diversity and different perspectives being brought to table, but it's also challenging in terms of how you want to create your work processes. And I would say that what we have found in the past to be especially challenging is, first of all, some of you will be coming from cultures that are more task-oriented and others from cultures that are more relationship-oriented. And so it's a question of what matters to you more and what you feel comfortable doing as a team. For those of you who are more task-oriented, you'll be more likely to jump on making a decision early, and so going with the project, making sure that you have some tangible task to work on as a team. For those of you who are more relationship-oriented, you'll be more likely, more inclined to take your time to learn about others, to create certain bonds between team members, to spend more time on the process and team building before you engage in the task. Because unless you do that, you will feel uncomfortable working with the people that you don't know enough. And of course, the virtuality of the project complicates things further. So to have some sense of these two forces that may be pushing you into different directions is, I think, is wise to consider and think about and make some adjustments for both camps. Sometimes this is also reflected in the decision-making process. Some cultures like to spend a lot of time planning for a project. So if you are coming from such a culture, you will want to spend a lot of time thinking about your options, putting your various ideas to the table, discussing them in a lot of detail before you make your final decision on which option to go with for your project. Others will want to talk about this briefly with the intent to choose the idea as quickly as possible so that they can get into action. So in other words, some of you are more interested in the planning and some of you are more interested in action. And so to make sure that everybody is comfortable with that time period when you're making your decision, and that everybody on the team is comfortable with the idea that you finally accept as your final idea is very important. So to have some agreement, to make sure we've heard from everybody on the team is key, because then you are going to be equally motivated to work on the project from that point on. Trust in general is very important. But and we all acknowledge that across all cultures, but how we build trust is different. And so if you're more task-oriented, you're building trust by having people do things, and as they deliver whatever is expected of them, you kind of learn to trust them. Others will build their trust by learning more about others, okay, by bonding through knowledge about others on the team, and then when they're comfortable enough working with others, they will pursue the actual task. So I would say that in our particular situation, where you come from different cultures, that the process itself and team building is extremely important. And we do give you enough time to do that. So starting in late October basically provides enough time for you to not worry so much about what your final idea will be and getting started on the project, but also gives you enough time to work on the process. Think about how you are going to work together as a team, who you are, what your collective makeup is, learning as much about each other. This is an incredible opportunity for you to actually learn about your counterparts who live in and work in a very different environment. So do take that advantage. Don't rush too fast, because at some point, this actually may come to haunt you when it comes to deliverables, when it comes to deadlines, when it comes to pressure. The more you know each other, the more likely it is that you will actually be able to deal with these pressures as they accumulate as time goes by. And finally, one thing that might be very different on this team versus your teams at work is that there is really no assigned leader. There is no one that you're going to report to. So for some of you who are more used to the hierarchical structure and getting the instructions from some top, or having a senior manager providing the guidelines, you will not be getting them here. So one major task for the team is to decide on how it's going to lead itself towards, through the process and towards the completion of the project. And this is definitely something you want to think about. Provide your various perspectives on what you think team leadership is all about, and where you find your role in terms of how this team should be led, and which role you feel most comfortable with. These are all conversations worth having, so please have them. They will make you not just a better informed team member, but a more prepared team member for another team at work or elsewhere in your lives outside of Carlson. And then just on the final, as I sort of finalize my my presentation here, I just want to let you know that on February 9th, our SEMBA students will be tasked with giving mini presentations on your project proposal. This is the time when you're already quite engaged, when most of you, hopefully all of you, have made your decision on which way to go. You have created your proposal, you have submitted it for feedback from faculty, and February 9th is an opportunity for you to actually show that or share that with your counterparts in all programs. These mini presentations will be recorded so that all of you will be able to see what everyone else is doing. Hopefully it will be a moment of new energy, sort of an energizing experience for everyone. Definitely a milestone, because after that it's really all about execution. You've received all the feedback from us that you needed, and between then and March, late March, you'll be working on finalizing your project proposals. After that, you'll have a short break from each other and then meet here face to face. Again, just as I said early on, this is the moment we all look forward to and invariably enjoy. So I very much look forward to meeting you all then. Some of you I will meet earlier, but mid-May is usually my favorite time when a lot of your and our efforts finalize and produce great success. Thank you all very much, and the best of luck. And throughout the project, there are many of us who are very willing and sometimes able to provide advice and feedback for you, so please do not hesitate to ask. Thank you.
As we move on to the last section of our VTP launch video today, we'd like to thank Professor Madzar for her really insightful comments about working across cultures, working virtually. We strongly encourage you to take to heart the wisdom that she shared as you proceed with the virtual team project this year. My name is Matthew Good. I'm the Director of Global Executive MBA programs here at the Crosscultural School of Management. I'll be talking to you a little bit today about the peer evaluation survey component of this year's virtual team project. Peer evaluation is a very important and critical part of the VTP that's really built into the whole project. Periodically throughout the year, we will be sending out email links to your email inboxes for you to take surveys where you'll be able to assess the performance of your teammates. This is a really important way that we can evaluate and fairly assess all of you as you proceed through the VTP this year. There will be 4 surveys sent out through the year, the first in December, the second in February, the third in March, and the final one in May, immediately following the final virtual team project presentations here in Minnesota. We do take the virtual team project peer evaluation survey feedback very seriously. Each and every survey result is reviewed, and VTP management staff and program staff throughout the world do follow up with teams and individual students as necessary based on the data that you provide. I should also say that the details for the surveys in terms of the specific dates when you'll be receiving them are included in the project plan. So we encourage you to read that section of the project plan. VTP management staff do follow up with teams and individuals throughout the VTP as is necessary based on the data that you provide. And from time to time, individual students who receive consistently low scores may be asked to retake the project the following year by the VTP faculty. Up next, my colleague Teresa will be talking to you a little bit more about additional logistics.
Hello, my name is Teresa Heath. I'm the Associate Program Director for the Global Executive MBA programs. And as Matthew mentioned, I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about some additional logistical aspects of the virtual team project. For this project, we'll be using a Moodle 2 site as the main communication site for the virtual team project-related documentation. All students have access to this site with their University of Minnesota X.500 usernames. Once you log into the Moodle 2 site, you will enter a classroom called Virtual Team Project, and there you're going to find all project-related documentations, including the project plan, team lists, faculty bios, deadlines, and many other pieces of information that will help you be successful with this program. Additionally, on the Moodle site, you will find information provided by the University of Minnesota business librarians. The University of Minnesota has invested a lot of resources in business reference library databases, journals, and information. I encourage you to contact the business librarians and to check this information because it will help you be successful as you continue to work on your business plans. So thank you so much. We look forward to another great year of the Virtual Team Project, and best of luck to all of you.